Welcome back to our live show. Our next guest is a licensed clinical social worker who's taking part in the annual Laura M. Robbins Speaker Series entitled Barriers to Learning: How Trauma Impacts RVA Children. This three-part educational series will begin at the end of the month. We welcome Dr. Allison Jackson here to Virginia this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
That seems like such a big topic, but it's a very important topic. Kind of tell us where this whole thing, the incarnation of the series.
Sure. So the series is ACEs, or Adverse Childhood Experiences, another word for trauma, is a health issue. It's a huge health issue. We know 46 million out of 76 million children this year will witness violence. So what the idea was is we know this affects them in school, and we know this affects learning. It actually turns the learning switch off as a health issue. And so the idea behind the series was, how can we educate leaders and the public about this important health issue and then move forward to action?
So talk about the workshop, because it's three parts. Now you're going to kick everything off. So what is your topic?
So my topic is really introducing that topic of adverse childhood experiences. What does emotional trauma mean? And is it just those kids overhead and over there in that neighborhood, or does it have a larger impact? And what we know is it does. It affects almost 2 out of 3 people. So I'm going to really introduce that topic, talk about how it affects the brain, and hopefully get really practical about me as a parent or as a teacher or someone in the community. What can I do about this issue?
And the nice thing about this is we're not talking in generalities. We're talking about children here in the Metro Richmond area.
Absolutely. We're talking about children here, and one of the sponsors of this, the Robbins Foundation, has invested $500,000 in the Richmond schools to really move this forward to help kids learn. And so it is something happening right now in our community that a lot of folks are committed to.
How long has this initiative been around, and do we know anything about whether or not it's being successful?
Absolutely. Great question. So about 5 or 6 years ago in Richmond, the Trauma Informed Community Network for Greater Richmond was established, and it's really about bringing people all over Richmond to think about how this is moving forward. What's exciting about that is it's now become the model of the state. There are now 10 all over the different state that were modeled on what happened in Richmond, and they were just recognized in the General Assembly actually in 2017. And what we're seeing is communities are finally coming together to talk about resilience, what helps kids bounce back, and families. And we are seeing successes with people being educated, and like any other health issue, knowing what to do about it.
Because this issue affecting not only our children psychologically, but it's affecting our community as a whole.
Absolutely. So again, some of the examples of trauma are child abuse, having someone in jail or prison as a child, being exposed to domestic violence. If I've had 4 of those events happen before 18, I'm 1,500% more likely to attempt suicide. At a 6 out of 10, I'm more likely to die 20 years younger than my counterpart. I mean, these are real health issues, and the CDC is actually recognizing it as the prime determinant of health. But what's interesting is we hear about texting while driving or smoking cigarettes when you're young. We're not talking about this health issue. And so the first rule of public health is, if we're not talking about it, how can we get better?
And I guess probably it goes back to the fact that most people wouldn't even think of it as a health issue.
Absolutely no. Or they've been trained in their families not to talk about that. And so what we really want to do is, again, retrain that this is an important health issue that presents risks, but it's not a doomsday scenario. There are things you can do each day to build your resilience and improve your health.
And you mentioned that the General Assembly recognized this a year ago, and you were telling me that they're going to be taking up some issues in this session that just began yesterday.
Absolutely. So there are multiple bills being sponsored, particularly by the Youth Commission, that really looks at how the state as a whole can move this through every state system, how we as partners, one of the things on the table is, can we take on a Virginia campaign of really educating everyone in the state about this important topic.
You've got a couple of extra special guests coming in to help with the workshop. Tell us about the second one. You're kind of excited about that.
Really excited. So Robert Redford's son, James Redford, got really excited about this topic, and his first film was Paper Tigers, which organizations like Bon Secours and others have sponsored, going all around the city. So he's actually coming in to talk about this and what he's learned nationally, and what does it mean to have a trauma-sensitive school. And Richmond is really pushing to become a trauma-sensitive school, but I'll tell you, I work about 9 or 10 school systems across the state, and many are trying to say, what does that mean and how do I make it better? So that should be a great conversation, and they're actually going to have his Resilience movie come out even before he comes.
That's awesome. All right, speaker number 3.
So I'm super excited about that one too. This is Chris Inman, and he's up from Columbia, and what I love about Chris is he stirs the pot. And what he's really talking about is, how do we improve urban education? And he really challenges us to think about, for a long time we've thought of urban hip-hop culture as not being something that we can educate. And so he really brings that out as a culture, and that we need, I love his word, Pentecostal pedagogy. And we really need to start embracing culture in urban youth and using that to improve education, not coming from a place of white privilege and saying, that's not going to work.
So who are you targeting to come to these workshops?
Well, I really think we're targeting leaders who want to take this back to their organization. So some people might say, oh, that's mental health, or oh, that's just schools. But you know, all of us are impacted by schools. So we're hoping for leaders in the community, but we're also hoping for citizens all over to say, how can I listen and take this back? Because one of my favorite sayings is, it's not going to be a monumental event that changes this health issue. It's going to be ordinary acts of courage from each one of us.
And just starting the conversation sometimes is such an important first step.
Absolutely. I have 3 daughters. They laugh. They always say, you know, oh gosh, mom's a social worker. She's always talking about this. But I talk about it in my barbershop or my hair salon of let's talk about this health issue.
Because it's not going away until we do something about it.
Absolutely. You're exactly right.
Well, thank you, Dr. Allison Jackson, for joining us today, and best of luck with the workshops.
Thank you so much.
And you talked about the excitement about the last 2 speakers. We're very excited about you kicking the whole thing off.
Thank you so much. And I'm a Richmonder, so I'm happy to be here.
That's awesome. The 3-part educational series, Barriers to Learning, How Trauma Impacts RVA Children, begins Wednesday, January 31st at Virginia Union University. To link you to more information on this event and others, check out our website after 2 o'clock this afternoon at WTVR.com/VTM.